back to the channel. I thought it'd be a great day to go for a drive in the C8 Corvette. So I thought in this video what I would do is talk a little bit about the things that I really like about this car and the things that I don't like about this car. So I've had this car for almost 2 years now. It's the first car I ever bought brand new. And I still remember the day when I went to the dealership to go pick up this car. And from the time I left my deposit to delivery date, it was 8 months, which is amazing fast. I know people have been waiting years to get their hands on their C8 Corvette. That's quick. So these cars are selling for more than MSRP. I paid just over $90,000 for this car 2 years ago, and this car would probably go for around $120 right now in the market. So it kind of made me wonder, is it time to sell? Who knows? So the C8 Corvette comes in 3 trims. There's the 1LT, which is your base level. Then there's a 2LT, and a top of the line 3LT. This particular C8 is a 2LT. And with the 2LT, you get some really nice features. The best feature being the rear view camera. I honestly can't imagine driving this car without that rear view camera, because this car has some huge blind spots. With the 2LT, you also get blind spot monitoring, as well as a front view camera, which really helps you to park this vehicle. I think it'd be perfect if you could just order the 1LT and just get the rear view camera as an option. That would be awesome. So if I could go back, I would get the 1LT, because all the features that you do get with the 2LT, they're nice to have, but you don't need them. And it's just more cost, more weight to the car, and more depreciation. So if I could go back, I would just get the 1LT. Actually, I would get a 0LT if it was even offered. So this car right now goes for about $125,000, which is affordable. And if you're not rich like me, you can afford this car. And that's one of the things I really like about this car, that it's affordable, reasonably priced, and great value for your money. You don't have to be rich to own this car, but it's gonna look like you're balling with this car. So smooth, so quick. You're up to like 100 just like that. So for me, the thing I like most about this car is the fact that I paid MSRP. This car sells well over MSRP in today's market. I was fortunate enough to get this at the sticker price. So the fact that I got this at MSRP is one of the things I really enjoy about owning this vehicle. I'm not a financial advisor, but it seems like buying a C8 at MSRP is a good investment. The second thing I like about this vehicle is the styling. I think GM did an awesome job with the styling. This car looks exotic, yet it kind of looks Corvette-ish. And design of the car kind of reminds me of the F-22 Raptor. Like for example, the intakes on the side does remind me of the Raptor. So it does have a kind of a fighter jet styling to it, especially this cockpit and the layout. The only thing I wish GM had done is put round taillights on this car. I don't like the Camaro-ish taillights on this car. As I was saying, if GM made their taillights round, I think it would look a lot better. I'm picturing the taillights from like a Ferrari SF90 on this car. I think would have looked so amazing. I think it would have been a grand slam if they just tweaked the back. At the front, I think it's perfect. They did a perfect job at the front. The sides look perfect as well. It's just the back, I think they could have done a little better with the back. It's a little too busy in the back. If it was a little smoother with some round taillights, I think that would have been just perfect. The third thing that I really like about this car is the performance. This car does 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds. That is like Ferrari, Lamborghini quick. It's an 11-second car in a quarter mile. You're getting supercar performance at a fraction of the price. My best 0 to 60 in this car is a 3.2. My previous C6 Corvette would do a 0 to 60 in 4 seconds flat, and that was quick. But the new C8 just takes it up to another level. And to use launch control, you basically hold the brakes, increase engine speed, let go of the brakes, and just hold on for dear life. Try launching this car, see how violent this is. My God. That's intense. Okay, the next thing I love about this car is just the handling. This car handles so well, yet it's so comfortable to drive. It's very smooth as a daily driver, but it corners extremely well, like literally no body roll. Like I can pull 1G around corners like easily, no problem. This car feels very well balanced. It handles so much better than the previous generation Corvettes, due mainly to the engine being in the back. That gives it a huge advantage over the previous generation front engine Corvettes. So this car is a non-Z51. I personally think the Z51 option is overrated. With the Z51, you get stiffer suspension, stronger brakes, better cooling, but you don't need all of those things. And you're sacrificing drivability, comfort for performance on the track. Like the brakes on this car is more than adequate for daily driving. And I don't want a vehicle that's stiff and where you can feel every bump in the road. My previous C6 had the Z51, and it's a harsh drive. Like its suspension is stiff, and I didn't really want that in this car. This is a daily driver. It's extremely comfortable to drive, and I feel like if you're getting the Z51, you're sacrificing the comfort and drivability of this car for improvements on the track, and 99.9% of the time you're not tracking this car. So for me, it didn't make sense to get the Z51. I think it's just overrated. You don't need all of that. The non-51 handles just beautifully and drives really nice too. So I'd rather take that $5,000-$6,000 for that Z51 option and put it towards something else, because it's really not needed. The one advantage of the C51 option is you get the performance exhaust, but that only gives you an extra 5 horsepower, and honestly, it still sounds kind of the same to the stock exhaust. And the problem with the performance exhaust, I still find that it's still not loud enough. Even if I did get the Z51 exhaust, I would be upgrading the exhaust anyways. Takes off so fast. Oh, I want to talk a little bit about this transmission. So this car has a dual clutch transmission, and it's extremely quick. Shifts are really hard in track mode. Normal driving, they're very smooth. And these paddle shifters are like really high quality. They feel amazing. I don't know, I think this is magnesium, and they're huge. Like I don't think I've seen paddle shifters that are this big before. So I really like these different drive modes that the car has. So right now I'm touring. When I go to track, like the car feels completely different. Like the revs go up when you're cruising. The suspension feels a lot stiffer. The engine is a lot louder. The car just is noticeably different. See? Performance just seems to go up when you're in track mode. Usually in touring, which is your just normal driving, I find I don't use sport that often. It's either one extreme or the other. It's either touring or track, but mostly track. I also do love the steering wheel. I love anything that's kind of different and unique, and the steering wheel is definitely unique. So let's talk about the things that I dislike about this car. And honestly, there's only one negative I find about this car, and that is the fact that this car is just way too quiet. For some reason, Corvettes have always been, I would say, on a quiet side. Like my previous C6 Corvette, when I first bought it, the thing I didn't like is the exhaust was so quiet, so I straight piped it. and it was just way too loud. Then I put a MagnaFlow performance exhaust on it, and it still wasn't loud enough for me. And with this car, I just find the exhaust is just too quiet. Like when you're driving inside the vehicle, you can't hear the exhaust. You can barely hear it. I'm pretty sure it sounds louder from outside, but when you're driving this car, like I can't hear the exhaust. Just listen to this exhaust. So we'll just go in manual. I'll roll down the window. Like I said, it's not the loudest exhaust. I don't know if you hear that rumble in the back. It's just not loud enough for me. Now, when you're driving a car that looks like an exotic, it should sound exotic too, I think. And I feel like if you're buying a brand new Corvette and you're paying like $90,000, $100,000, you shouldn't have to think about replacing the exhaust. Like, I just wish it was just louder from the factory. So that is my biggest negative about this car, is the fact that the exhaust is just too mild. It should be a little louder. My Hellcat is loud. The exhaust is loud on that car, and that's part of the appeal of driving these high performance cars, is the sound. And I feel like I just don't get that with the C8. Like, it should have an amazing exhaust with this car, but it doesn't. And also the exhaust tips, not a huge fan of those. So even more reason to replace the exhaust on this car. Okay, so the second thing I don't like about this car, and I don't know if it's really specific to the Corvettes, but the dual clutch transmission, which I love, by the way. The dual clutch transmission is extremely quick, but one big negative of the transmission in this car is the fact you can't put it in neutral. Now, I've done a video on this topic before, so you should check it out, but there is no way to put this car into neutral without having the engine on and running. So, think about it. If you're on the highway and you run out of gas, you're stuck in the middle of the road, you can't pull over to the side. If you're parked in a garage and you can't get a tow truck down there, like, what do? You can't just put it in neutral and just push it out. And I always worry if I'm in that situation where I need to, put the car in neutral and I can't, because I can't turn the engine on. And for me, I like to be able to just put the car in neutral and just push it out of the garage, but you can't do it with this car. You have to start it up every time and reverse it. Now, there is a tool that you can buy where you can disengage that feature so that you can put into neutral. First of all, that part is extremely expensive. Second, it's difficult to access the part of the transmission to use that tool. And third, I believe it's a two-person job. So literally, you need one person sitting in the trunk holding that tool to the transmission and another person pushing or pulling the vehicle. GM could have designed it better to allow a feature where you can disable the transmission in a more accessible and easier way, but unfortunately you can't. So one other thing I want to talk about is practicality. So I don't find the C8 is as practical as the previous generations. Like with my old C6 Corvette, it was an extremely practical car because of the rear hatch. I could easily fit my hockey bags, my hockey sticks, no problem. But you can't do that with this car. It's a lot smaller now, so it's not as practical. I'm more than happy to sacrifice the practicality for having the engine in the back, because this car handles so much better than its predecessors with the front engine design. There's really nothing to dislike about this car. This car looks amazing, drives fantastic, and you get great value for your money. The value proposition is amazing. For GM to design, engineer, and build this car at the price point that they're asking, I think is just absolutely amazing. This is my second Corvette, and I'm pretty sure it's not my last. And looking at the future of Corvettes, it looks very exciting. The new E-Ray is coming out where you get the wider body and all-wheel drive. And I could see myself in the new C8 SUV whenever that comes out. So which car is more fun to drive, the C8 Corvette or my Hellcat? I definitely say the Hellcat is more fun to drive. The Hellcat is just a crazy car. It's just madness. It's hard to control. It's loud. You can make the rear slide easily, and that's what makes that car so appealing and fun to drive. Whereas this car is more controlled. It's more precise. It's planted. Just needs more power. I don't know. Maybe just because I'm used to driving the Hellcat. I feel blessed to own this car. I've had it for almost 2 years. No issues whatsoever. I've never had any issues with my prior Corvette as well. I feel like they're extremely reliable vehicle, and I wouldn't hesitate to take this car out on a long road trip. Even with my old C6, it was a higher mileage too, and no problems whatsoever. Like, you just give it gas and boom, you're gone. Just like that. Now for you C8 owners, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I feel like when I'm in touring mode, the car feels a little quicker off the line under like normal driving than when you're in track mode. It seems like when I'm in track mode and I'm at a red light and I want to just go, I feel like I gotta press more on the gas for the car to go. Whereas with touring mode, it just seems like the throttle response is a lot better. I don't know if you guys noticed that. It just seems like with touring mode, it just takes off quicker under normal driving. Obviously, if you're launching the car, you want to be in track mode, but for normal driving, for some reason, I find with touring, it just takes off a little quicker. I'm kind of interested to know, do you guys feel that same way? Have you noticed that? I'd like to know. Leave your comments below. What a car. You can't drive this car and not have a smile on your face. It just drives so good. It just needs that exhaust. It just needs a really loud exhaust. That would be perfect. Oh yeah, a little bit more horsepower too. That'd be perfect. Doesn't feel as quick as it used to. That's what driving a Hellcat will do to you. This car feels kind of tame now when you get used to driving a Hellcat. I just feel like it just needs more power. The Hellcat is like just crazy power, and it's kind of intoxicating. And then I get into the C8, feel a little underwhelmed. Doesn't have that, like the Hellcat does. But this is an amazing car you can drive on a daily basis. Not that you can't daily a Hellcat, but I feel like with the Hellcat, if I drive that car every day, I'm gonna get arrested one day. Overall, I love this car. GM, well done. You built a masterpiece. And the future of Corvettes is very exciting. Speaking of the future, I will see you guys very soon on the next video. But before you guys leave, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I really want this channel to grow, so I really appreciate it. So thanks guys, I'll catch you on the next one.